I have a lot of thoughts about this book, so let's talk about them. A little bit of a backstory with V. Schwab and my reading of her books. I read twice A Darker Shade of Magic. The first time I didn't feel the need to continue the series because I wasn't as interested, but then a few years later I decided that maybe my tastes have changed, so maybe this time I really want to continue, but that was not the case. Then I read a middle grade series. I don't remember the name of the character or the series, but it's like Tunnel of Bones, but I will put the cover here. The thing is, I'm not the target of the audience of those books, but I wanted to read them because the first one takes place in Edinburgh, and I love Edinburgh. The second one in Paris, and the third one in New Orleans. They were just books for me, neither good or bad, because again, I'm not the target audience. I also read twice The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The first time I really enjoyed it, and that's why I had it on my shelf, but I recently sold the collector's edition. But then when I reread it, I realized I much prefer the reading experience of the first time I read it. But just some scenes stuck with me. With what I enjoyed in this book was like, you could feel the loneliness, you can feel the sorrow of Addie, and also some situations were really heartbreaking. So that's why I decided to reread it, but yeah. So I could say that V. Schwab is kind of a hit or miss for me as an author, but I was really excited to read this book because it's sapphic vampires, and I don't know if you've seen the video where I talk about 10 sapphic books on my TBR, and I talked about the fact that it's quite difficult to find sapphic romanticises or sapphic romance in fantasy settings that are not with vampires, and this one confirms that it's very popular subgenre. But yeah, I was really excited to read this book. So in this one you follow 3 different timelines. You follow the first one in the 1500s in Spain, you follow Maria, and then you follow Charlotte in the 17 and 1800s in London, and then you follow Alice in 2019 in Boston. She's at university. And you don't really follow them in chronological order. You mostly have in the first half Maria's chapters, and you also get some of Alice's. And Charlotte, you get them mostly toward the second half of the book, the chapters. But you can easily guess the connection between the 3 of them, especially with like the first few chapters. You can guess like, oh, this. I also forgot to say that this review will be spoilery. I want to talk really about what I felt with every plot point I had an opinion of. So if you haven't read the book, or if you plan to read the book, maybe do not watch this video. So to me, this book was not good, and I finished this book like 2-3 days ago, I don't remember. And I still feel the anger from having finished this book. And the reason I didn't DNF it was because I thought that at some point something was gonna happen, but it was not the case. So to me, at least, the pacing was really, really slow. The book is more than 500 pages, and you can feel it. With some books, you don't feel that you're reading, but this one, it was really, really slow. And at first I was like, okay, for the first like 150 pages, I was like, okay, I'm just going along for the ride. I'm just seeing where the story goes. But then I was like, okay, I'm still along for the ride, but I don't know where the story is going because nothing is really happening. But like the brief plot, we could say, is like, in 2019, Alice has been turned into a vampire, but she doesn't realize that why she's being sick, but it's because she needs blood. And she's been turned into a vampire after having like a hookup with somebody called Lottie, that you can guess is Charlotte, from the 1800s. So she wants to know why she's been turned, why her, why it's happening to her, if she can like reverse it. But you also have a lot of chapters with Maria, who's also a vampire. So actually the three point of view you follow are from vampires. And Maria became a vampire, turned into a vampire when an apothecary in the town she was at during her life, she turned her because Maria wanted freedom from her husband's family, the life she had, because she didn't like it. So she has been turned into a vampire, but during this transformation she killed the vampire who turned her, and the person who turned her into a vampire was called Sabine. So when Maria becomes a vampire, she's not called Sabine. Until the end of her life, she is called Sabine. So like I said, Alice has been turned into a vampire, and she thinks that Charlotte turned her, and Charlotte has been turned into a vampire by Sabine/Maria. So the three point of view you follow are from women and girls being turned into vampires. But the thing is that it was quite repetitive. Every time they were surprised that they have been turned into vampires, and they are the same thoughts. So 3 times you had the same way of life and explanation and stuff being said again and again. So for example, they drink blood from from humans, but when they learn that they can drink blood from like blood bags and from like non-living person, like the blood has been taken out of the body and they drink the blood after in a cup or stuff like that, they're like, oh yeah, it's not the same. You don't feel the pulse of the person you're drinking from. You don't feel their lives leaving their body. You don't feel anything they feel because it's just blood. You don't have any life to this blood. And 3 times it was like this, the same way of thinking. And then there was also like burying the bones in the midnight soul. It was talked so much, and it didn't really make any sense because the transformation into being a vampire was not linked into being buried in the soil during midnight. Nothing happened in the soil. Nothing happened at midnight. Nothing happened. Like, I had a really hard time connecting with that. And also, when we follow the chapters from Alice, so the more recent one, most of her chapters were her having flashbacks with her sister. And I'm like, why do I need to care about the sister? Why do I need to care about the flashbacks? Because they didn't add anything. And also, again, spoiler, but you can guess very easily why she's having all this flashback. It's just because her sister is dead. And I'm like, why should I care? Because we didn't follow the sister when she was alive. We only have flashbacks. The flashbacks don't add anything to Alice's story, at least to me. We didn't feel any grief. We didn't feel any sadness. We just have scenes about her sister being mad that they had a new stepmother because their mother died. And it was also, again, always the same type of flashback. The sister was mad. Alice was trying to like mend the bridges between the two. That's it. Every flashback was like this. And then during, I think, the last flashback or the second to last flashback, we learned that the sister was dead. And honestly, I was not shocked. I knew that. It was very predictable. And again, it didn't add anything to the story or like any importance into Alice being turned into vampire, to having now a life that her sister will never have, having a longer life that her sister will never have because she's dead. I didn't mean to say it like that. To me, this book didn't do anything. The plot points were really low. And also, I saw a lot of reviews about having a like toxic sapphic relationships. And Charlotte, Lottie, was turned by Sabine. And they had a relationship. And the reason why Alice has been turned into a vampire is due to the relationship that Sabine and Lottie had before. So that's the toxic aspect, but to me, I really liked the sapphic and romantic and the passion, and nothing happened in that front. For example, Maria, Sabine, but when she was still Maria, had longing for romantic companionship. She knew that she was interested in that kind of sexuality. And then when she's Sabine and a vampire, she meets a couple of vampires, like a guy and a woman. And she's really interested in the woman. And when she talks about it, like you follow them for a few hundred years, I think. When you follow them, you feel like Sabine never had any experience with the woman. But actually she did, but nothing was described. And I thought that she was, there wasn't even longing of this kind of relationship. She was just like, oh yeah, I wish I could have that. Or, but actually she did. When they sleep together, again, not at all described. It's very hard to understand when they sleep together and when they're not. So that's why I had a hard time feeling connected to any romance. Because when they sleep together, actually, you learn that they had already slept together, but as a trio with the guy also. And they also had, so they also had already kissed, but you don't learn that before. It's not very clear, at least to me. And that was also the case with, a little bit less, but also the case with Charlotte, and also the case with Alice. So again, the same repetition of like, they talk like they never had any experience with a woman, or like any experience with a woman, but actually they did, and I didn't really understand, because to me that was not clear enough. So yeah, the relationships were toxic, but to me it was not like a toxic romance, because there was no romance in any of the scenes and any of the relationships that the three main characters could have had with also other characters. It was not like clear enough, and that's why it pissed me off, because a lot of people, I've seen like 5-star reviews of this book where they talk about the romance, the passion, and I'm like, where? Because nothing was described. Not the domestic life, because they live a long time, they're vampires, they could have a domestic life, like living together in a house, stuff like that. Nothing was described. Not the passionate moments, and I don't mean like the sex needs to be explicit, but just you need to at least understand that they have sex, to understand that this is a very serious and deep relationship. Not that you need sex to have that, but in this story they have sex, so you need to understand that it's a part of their relationship, but it's not described, and you don't feel the tension, you don't feel the passion, you don't feel the desire. So that's why, again, talking about it, I feel very angry because I really didn't like this book and I had high hopes. And again, in the same video where I talk about the 10 Sapphic books on my TBR, I talked about the fact that I found most of the time Sapphic romances are very lackluster, and I'm not saddened by it, but maybe I'm a little bit sad by it, because I really want to enjoy Sapphic stories. But to me, I don't know why authors can't do, like, when you read like an MF story, why they can do that with the tension and the banter and the desire and stuff. Why can't they just do that, but just with female relationship? So yeah, that's why I'm angry also, because I just want Sapphic books to love, and this one was not. But yeah, and the ending was really, really rushed. So the ending happened because so Alice actually thinks she has been turned into a vampire by Lottie, but actually she has been turned by Sabine, because the relationship between Sabine and Lottie is toxic. So Sabine, as a revenge, turns girls and women Lottie has slept with into vampires to get her revenge with Lottie. So that's why Alice has been turned. But Lottie can't kill Sabine, because as vampires, when you make promises, you can't break them. And like at the beginning of their history and their relationship, Sabine made Lottie promise that she will never hurt her. And so Lottie was like, yeah, I will never hurt you. That was a promise. And so Lottie is unable to kill Sabine. And that's why now Alice has been turned, and now she has been tasked into killing Sabine. But it's over in like a few sentences. It's like, yeah, she's killed. Now it's done. And you're like, okay. The whole story for that. And again, to learn, and again, when Alice wants to find out why she has been turned, she searches for Lottie, and Lottie could tell her just like a very brief story of like, yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened. But no, you need to have like chapters about chapters of like, yeah, when we were in France during the First World War, this happened. When we were in France in the Second World War, this happened. And even at some point, you have a chapter of Alice saying like, yeah, but why does it matter to me? I need to know why I have been turned. And Lottie is like, wait, you just need to wait to tell my story for me to tell my story. I'm like, no, we don't need to wait for you to tell your story. We don't care. It doesn't add anything to the book. And that's why at the end she's like, yeah, so that's why Sabine has turned you into a vampire, and that's why I can kill her. And then again, they're not the only vampires in the world. So I don't know why they had to wait for Alice to be turned into a vampire to be like, oh yeah, she's the one who can kill Sabine. When other vampires didn't do any promises to not hurt Sabine, so they could have killed her before because she was quite a bad person, because she has been living for a long time, so she lost a lot of her humanity and her empathy, and so she killed a lot of people. She didn't have any remorse. So I don't know why the other vampires couldn't kill Sabine sooner, because they knew of her like actions. So I don't know why they didn't do that sooner. But yeah, to me this book was too long. Very repetitive, very, very low plot, because yeah, at the end Sabine is killed, Lottie is killed, and you just have Alice left, and she's like, okay, now I'm a vampire. I don't really want to be a vampire, but I guess I am. So that's the end of the book, and nothing like remarkable happened. So yeah, 500 pages for that. So I don't know if this review made any sense, but I feel like very hungry again, and I don't know if I constructed my thoughts very well, but I hope I did. But yeah, maybe I will think twice before reading a new V. Schwab book. I'm also interested to see some of the booktubers I follow, because I saw their reviews, and one of them give this book 5 stars. I'm like, where? But yeah, I will see if I watch the video where she talks about it, or if it just make me angry, seeing somebody talking so positively about a book where I talk so negatively about this book. But yeah, that's the end of the review. I hope it made sense. I didn't like this book. And this is also the end of the video, and I see you in the next one. Bye.